Hey guys, Billy Presnell here at Dream Guitars. It's my first installment of my video lessons here at DG. This is episode 1. There's no hope. No, I'm kidding. It's there's plenty of hope. Don't lose hope. This episode is going to be solely about music as a language. And this, as I stated in my intro video, I owe a lot of credit to Victor Wooten for this approach to music and life in general. So I'm going to take a lot of what I've learned from him in my own way. And as I previously stated, please check out his works and you know, find out about that man. Learn about what he's about. Anyway, music as a language. So I teach people of all ages and all skill levels. I primarily teach acoustic guitar, electric bass, and banjo. I have taught mandolin in the past, and I've taught keyboard in the past. The piano was my first instrument as a kid. I started playing when I was 5, and for most of my life, I visualized sound through the lens of a keyboardist. I could hear things in the shape of a keyboard, and that has changed. The more that I've developed, I don't even think about things as a grid so much, even though I do primarily relate to the sound through a grid of frets going this way and strings going this way. But I express music more linguistically. I don't really visualize music as a function to produce sound, more as it's the thing that I have to say, right? So if we approach music as being a language, we have to think about how we learned our first language. And the way that we learned our first language, we were desperate to communicate to our parents or the adults, whomever we were near. We're desperate to tell them, we're hungry, I gotta go to the potty, or I'm mad. You're desperate to communicate things. And the thing is, from day one, you're unable to communicate. You're unable to say words in your native tongue. But you're around people who speak that language at a high level all the time. And they don't force you to only speak to people who speak at the same level as you. You're allowed to make mistakes and speak with people that are way beyond you linguistically. And the beauty of that is, not only are you being inundated by this sophisticated, robust language, but the noises you make, the fake words that you create, they sometimes will find cute and amusing, and they will say them back to you. You never see an adult not speak to a baby like a baby, right? Like, or whatever, you know. That always happens. And they do it with a smile on their face. But in music, we can't do that. You have to be this tall to ride this ride. And if you're not good enough, you get to stay with the people who are also not good enough. That tends to be the approach in the musical world. And I fundamentally disagree with that, and I'm trying my best to change that. You should be allowed to make mistakes. You should be allowed to play with people who are incredibly proficient, even if you were just 2 days old musically. And I try to tell my students to think of themselves as being the age of which they started the instrument is how old they are when it comes to playing. Like, how old are you musically? Well, I'm only 26 years old musically, right? I'm 31. I started when I was about 5. I have students who are in their 70s, and they've been playing for a year, and they get upset that they're not developing or growing fast enough. And I'm like, well, you're 1 year old. How much could you speak when you were 1? Not very much. But if you can play a chord, play a scale, anything, or groove, you're much more advanced with your instrument now because you've already learned the language. You've already gone through this. And the beauty of approaching music as a language is the simplicity in comparison to our language. The English alphabet has 26 letters. The musical alphabet in the West only has 12 different notes before they start to repeat. So you start here, start it all over. E to E. That's all. It's less than half of what's in our alphabet. So when you're playing a song, whether you're playing along to a song or you're jamming on your own or you're jamming with a friend or whatever, and you hit a wrong note. Let's say we're playing an E minor. Right, that's the groove. And you come in and you go, it's pretty rough. You play an E flat instead of an E. You're right beside the E. You're also right beside the D, which doesn't sound perfect, but it sounds a lot better than this. And there's a crazy thing that happens when you correct a mistake using this half-step trick. You end up wanting to hear it again. So if I'm going, it becomes musical. It's no longer a, oh no, I messed up. If you own it and embrace it and make it a part of what you're doing, it sounds like it's meant to be there. There's no such thing as a wrong note. There's only a note played out of ignorance. And being ignorant is totally cool in the beginning. It's actually fine no matter where you are in your development of music. But if you own that mistake, as you might call it, it just becomes a part of the music. It's not a mistake. It's as though if you were speaking to someone and you stammer or forget the word that you're trying to use. It's not as though you just start all over. Again, you just reboot. Oh, hello, hi, how are you? You don't do that. You just make your way through it. And in that same sense, music is conversational. We don't walk around day to day with scripts in our pockets of what to say to people that we know or people we don't know. Sure, we may have some basic template in our mind of how to introduce ourselves and how to act in certain situations, and that's the same in music too. But the script is not written. That's up to you. So I'll demonstrate an idea, a melody, a chord structure that I kind of have in mind that I've played before, but I'll express something with it. And I will try to put myself in a position to make mistakes and try to correct them and try to embrace them. And use this loose idea. It's almost as though you meet someone who you might want to become friends with. You may know how to approach that situation. Or if you meet somebody who you never want to talk to ever again, you might know how to approach that situation too. And this is kind of what I'm demonstrating. So I had no idea where I was going with any of that. I wanted to keep it simple. And when I close my eyes, so that I don't use my eyes to inform my playing, it becomes more about what I wish to hear, what the music is asking of me to play at that point. And you'll notice that the things that I did differently were more about dynamics, less about fancy stuff. Although I did throw in like some arpeggios and scales, it was more about adding different layers musically at the same time. So I have this basic chord movement, very simple voicing, really, really easy to do. And if I want to make it feel more rhythmic, I begin to add other elements that are rhythm-based, not harmony-based. So I've already said something, and it's like, how can I make that statement more interesting? How can I elaborate on that? By adding... Right, so you add all these layers, these simple layers. Everything I'm doing on a rudimentary level is very basic. There's one bass note. That's it. Very simple. The drums. Right? All of these things are very basic innately. But when played together, it can become a sophisticated statement. Much like how it's not what you say, it's how you say it. You know, you could have a crazy vocabulary and say nothing. You could have a very simple vocabulary and say so much. And that's kind of my approach to music as a language. And whenever you do use advanced vocabulary, it's only good when it's interesting. Right? If it's relatable, it makes you want to move, it makes you feel things. If you want to hear it again, if you can't get the melody out of your head, that's when that stuff matters. So, all in all, I believe that music is a language. It's not that hard to learn music through any instrument. Because at the end of the day, this is a piece of wood, right? You could have a really, really amazing guitar that you could buy here at Dream Guitars. But it's just a guitar until you put it in your lap and you play it. Then music comes through you. This is just a tool. Music's in here and here. And it's all up to you. So yeah, that's my discourse of music as a language, episode 1, possibly part 1. We'll see what happens. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm improvising. And that's okay, because so are you, whether you know it or not. You're just making it up. Anyway, thank you for watching this, if you've watched it and made it this far. And watch out for more of these lessons. Thanks.